Alright, so a few days ago I made a product commercial or a product video right in this room just with my smartphone. It was an interesting experience, but before we talk all about how this was made, what went behind the scenes of doing this, let's actually see the clip. But before all that, what's up guys, it's Sudeep here. Welcome back to another video and let's get started, shall we? So that was the clip. You be the judge, but I really need to thank every single person who's on Twitter who accepted this try in a very enthusiastic way. There was a good reception on Twitter because I posted this first on Twitter and then only planned on making this video itself. So thanks to you guys, and if you're new here, welcome to the family. But with that said, let's get started without any further ado. So I break all of this down in just simple format and maybe shot by shot. That's the best way I can do this. But before I get started itself, there's some things I need to tell you of how I actually did this. So the first thing is I shot this on a smartphone, yes, but this was shot on 4K 30 FPS. I mean, better the resolution, better the cropping and the post-production process happens. So I felt that I need to shoot on 4K. So I shot this entire thing on 4K at 30 FPS. And also for my light source, I do have a light source, but it's not a softbox or anything, but it's a ring light. It's a ring light by a generic brand. It's an 18-inch ring light, and that's what I used to light my product and for the entire process. And apart from this, I also used a phone holder, a fluid head tripod, and also a normal selfie stick tripod because I was shooting in a close range. Now with that said, let's get going and talk all about this whole thing itself. And we'll play the first clip and talk about that. So that was the first clip. I mean, that is the most simplest shot in the entire process, and let's talk about how that was made. So basically, if you have a phone holder, which is quite generic if you're a creator who does stuff on your smartphone, you need to place your product, which in my case was the Pixel 2 XL, right there. It needs to stand with the help of the phone holder and in an elevated level and in a close range to your actual smartphone you're shooting this from. With that said, the next thing is to focus on the actual making of the video itself. Now here I would like to say that any camera application you use, one of the basic stuff it needs to have at least is exposure correction and focus lock. That's really important because that's what matters while shooting from a smartphone, because you don't have any other experts settings per se. This at least needs to be there. I use the Google camera application just like that, but if you get your hands on an application like Filmic Pro or even Open Camera, that's even better because you can do even more adjustments right before you go into the post-production process itself. And I'm telling all of this because in my case, I really didn't rely entirely on the pre-production process. I made sure that it's good in the pre-production process and also did some editing in pre-production to make it look really good. So if you can get access on those camera applications, that's really great. And the first thing you need to do is focus lock on your target, that is your subject, and also reduce the exposure. Now because in this case we are using a black chart, that's the reason why I'm saying that you need to focus lock on your target and also reduce the exposure, because the product is still visible while the background becomes blurred or it becomes less bright, which gives you more space to work in pre-production. If you just shoot it just like that, it's going to be really tough. So the lighter the background it is during the pre-production itself, it becomes easier in post-production to just increase the contrast and also bring up the blacks. And that's how I made this. And also the first shot itself has an effect of coming from black to showing the product itself. Now this might just look like a fade transition which I put in, but in my case I didn't do that. I went practical. Now if you know about the ring lights or any lights you possess, you know that there will obviously be a knob to adjust the intensity of the light. And basically what I did was increase the intensity from 0 to 100 and backwards from 100 to 0 and for a few number of times, and then I took the best shot and put it as the intro shot. And also later, after cropping, increasing the contrast as I told you, and also playing with the blacks and highlights and a lot more of stuff, this was the product shot we end at for the first shot. So the second shot is quite interesting. I mean, it's a different kind of a shot which intrigues your motion towards the product itself. That is this. So as you saw, both of the phones come from diagonally from the frame and the twist, which is kind of like a good shot, but it's really easy to make too. So what I did here was actually use my hands to do the twist effect right in the diagonal part of the frame. Now this is not advisable to everybody because I did this with precision, and I was really confident that I could do it or pull it away and make it look smooth. And I did this only on one side. I'll talk about why later. But as I told you, if you do have a turntable which can actually rotate the smartphone quite easily, maybe shoot in that first and then crop it in and twist it in post production to make it look like it's spinning from the diagonal ends of the frame. But in my case, I actually did it from the diagonal sides of the frame, like as you can see right now, and that's how I went through it. And later in post production, all I did was duplicate the shot and inverted it to make it look like it's coming from both the diagonal ends. And as this is the same shot which is being used, it also looked quite clear and also a little bit smoother than using two different shots of phones rotating. So it looks similar, both the phones look similar. So that's how the second shot was done. And later, after some, again increasing the contrast, playing with the blacks and all of that, and adding the Google logo, this is how the second shot ended up looking like. So with two shots done, this next shot is kind of interesting. It is this. So pretty much the phone comes from the top to the center, stays there, and we have a text falling through from the top to the bottom. We talk about the text about in the post-production way, but we'll talk about how this shot was particularly done. Now this is pretty simple. I kept the phone itself without the phone holder on a flat surface, but this was elevated. It was not kept just on a book like the usual shots. It was kept on top of a subject, and then I just made it lay there, and I took a still shot of the phone. This could be a photo or a video as per your wish, because at the post-production stage you're entirely going to just mask this phone to look like it's only that in the air. So yeah, you can really decide what you want to. While I went with the video style and took a snapshot of it later and also used the entire video frame itself, you could do whatever you want, but make sure that the video, if you're taking, should be still so that there's no shake in terms of the phone itself. And once you're done with that, the only thing you need to concentrate now is masking the phone. Now, I'm not sure if every single person out there uses Premiere Pro, and there is a lot of new creators who just use a simple software like Filmora or something, but even in that software, there's a simple subject called as subject mask, I guess. It's not as accurate as the Premiere Pro, where you could jot down every single point and mask the phone itself, but you can play around with the mask options in like Filmora or any other particular software to make sure that you see only the phone. And once you're done with that, rotate it to a 90-degree angle or a slanting angle like whatever I did, and after some post-production work of making the text appear from down to bottom, this is what you will end up at, and that's basically the third shot. And the third shot is really not that difficult. The only thing you need to focus on is masking, as I told you, and I'm not sure if I can explain it perfectly, so I'll let you to experiment with whatever you want. And all of this process is just me explaining how I did it. You can do it entirely differently. You can make an entirely different version of it, but this is just how I did it. And by the way, if you're enjoying the video, a like would be amazing, and subscribe to the channel. Alright, so with that said, we'll get to the fourth shot. The fourth shot is quite interesting because it's three subjects, or the phone itself, coming three times into the frame but on different angles. One in the center, one on the left, and one on the right. So this is basically, as you guessed it, it's again masking, or having one layer over the other and masking the entirety of the other shot away. So this is how it was done. So first I placed the phone to stand properly in a place, diagonally looking towards the left, and I took a video of it. It was a still video, no motions, nothing. I let it record for about 10 seconds after focus, lock, and also reducing the exposure, as I told you in the first itself. Please make sure to do that in every single shot. But yeah, that was done. And once that was done, I repeated the same thing with every single angle I needed. I actually intended to make a much better shot, but I settled on just doing three versions of the phone just standing over there. So next was the center, and the next was keeping it on the right, focusing lock, and reducing the exposure and taking it. And once all of these three shots are done, you basically put them together on your timeline, whichever software it is, and mask it out. If you're using Premiere Pro, you can exactly mask the phone out to just show the phone itself, or even if you're on any other software, as I told you, use the simple mask which just moves one single part away, and you can just, as it's separated subjects, it's going to be easy. So mask it away, and after doing all of that, and again playing with the blacks, contrast, and a lot more, and also adding some effects like fast cuts like how I wanted it to, this is how the fourth shot would have turned out. So with that done, the fifth shot. Fifth shot is not entirely something really difficult. It's just the phone coming from two sides to the center. It really just comes from both of the ends to center, and it just is that. That's the fifth shot. So this shot was again replicated just like how the diagonal shot in this second version was made. So again, this was entirely handheld. I didn't use any turntable or anything of my preference because I knew that the swift motion of coming from one side could be easily done with precision. I had confidence, so I did that. But if you can find any other method to make look this even smoother, do it, because I felt like after ending all of this, mine was not as smooth as I wanted it to. So if you do have any methods, do use it. But this was just simple. Again, focus locking, reducing the exposure and swiveling the phone from the left end to the center is what all I did. And once I was satisfied with the overall shot itself, I duplicated it to look like it's coming from the right side. Also put it upon the layer it was already in, masked the shot to look like there was two phones in the thing, played with the settings, played with contrast, played with the, all of the blacks as I told you as earlier in every single shot, and this is what we end up at. With that said, we'll get to the sixth shot, which is just the phone rotating in a diagonal angle, but it's from the center this time, so it's more focused towards the subject. The second shot was basically from the diagonal ends, and it was just like farther away from the frame, but this focused on the phone, which looked really beautiful to my opinion, and that's how we went through it. So this was done that way, and basically I just shot it, and here again we use the help of the phone holder. The phone holder in this specific thing helps a lot in the first shot and also here, because you can just hold it and turn the phone as much as you wish for. But as I told you, if you have a turntable, just like how I asked you if you can use it in the second shot, use it here too, because more smoother the rotation actually is, it would look more professional rather than being amateur. I feel like my shot could have been even better, but if you have a turntable, it's the best. So use that and just rotate the phone, and again in the post-production all you need to do is crop in to whatever you want. For my preference, I wanted it really close to the frame, and as I told you, as I shot in 4K, it was really simple to crop in and play with the contrast and all of that, and this is the shot we ended up at. And with that done, the last shot. The last shot is basically the phone coming from a pane angle to just coming to the frame, just smack onto the frame. But I felt that my version could have been better because it had some kind of a shake. I tried doing in post-production to make it look okay, but still I was not satisfied. But here's how I did it. It was basically just a hand movement again. From the bottom to the frame top, I brought the phone, and it was really simple. But before doing all of this, I locked focus on the target or the subject again, and also reduced the exposure. And again for every single shot you need to do this, because in the post-production it really helps a lot. And for the last shot, that was it. It was really just me doing that, and then later for focusing on whatever I need to do. And after adding some text to the final shot, because I need to show the product's name and add some elements, and to make it even more interesting, I also added an element in the back which look like lines going through near the product. This is what we end up at. So that was pretty much it. The behind the scenes or how I did it is actually pretty simple, but the post production actually helps a lot. And all of the shots which I talked about, some of them don't need anything except playing with the contrast, playing with the blacks, and also the brightness overall, but the other needs masking. Now, as I told you, if you have a software which can do all of this, is even better. And I'm not sure if I could explain with every software, but basic masking and learning how to do masking would really help you. So if you can do that, that's it. That's basically how I created this. And let's watch the shots once more and let's come back. So yeah, that was how this was made. I hope this video was helpful. This was just a breakdown video of whatever I made with whatever I could with my smartphone and just some lighting and some setup, which is not really professional at all. And there is obviously feedbacks I can take on this. I really do feel this is not the perfect thing I could make with a smartphone, but still, all of the people who received this in Twitter, as I told you again, are really super great. I thank all of you. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you did like the video, make sure to like the video. If you didn't, dislike it, but tell me why. That really matters. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. There's been a lot more banger videos which is gonna come in the future, and I'm trying to be consistent as well. And if you do want to know more about me or follow me and be updated, follow me on my social handles in Twitter and Instagram. And that's pretty much it, guys. It's been me, Sudeep, and I'll meet you in the next one. Until then, peace out.